All right, so today we're going to dive into a really fascinating case study all about corporate language training. We're going to break down how this one company, Englishmania, is basically rethinking the entire way we teach the world's business language. This quote from Jay Walker's famous TED Talk, it just perfectly frames the stakes, doesn't it? Learning English today, it's not just about, gaining another skill. It's about getting a seat at the table for this massive global conversation, a conversation that's trying to solve our biggest shared challenges. English has really become the default tool for that job. So right away, that raises a huge challenge. I mean, if you need to equip professionals, scientists, leaders with a brand new language, let's be honest, a simple grammar book just isn't going to cut it. The teaching method itself has to be as sophisticated as the problems they're trying to solve. So what does that actually look like in practice? Okay, so let's start with their guiding philosophy, which is summed up perfectly here: when one teaches, to learn. And look, this is way more than just a catchy slogan, right? It frames learning not as this one-way street, but as a really dynamic, interactive exchange. So how do you put a philosophy like that into practice? Well, their model is built on sending qualified, experienced native teachers directly to companies. The whole idea is to foster real-world communication skills that employees can use, like right away. Not abstract rules, but stuff you can actually use on the job that day. All right, section 2, the communicative method, moving beyond grammar to genuine interaction. So how do you actually foster those real-world skills? Well, the answer lies in this specific methodology called the communicative method. And trust me, it is a huge shift from the way most of us probably learn languages back in school. So what exactly is communicative language teaching, or CLT for short? At its core, it's an approach built on one super simple idea. You learn a language best by actually using it to communicate. It's about interaction with each other and the teacher, not just sitting there memorizing a bunch of rules. And this comparison just perfectly shows the shift in the teacher's role. Think about it. In the traditional method, the teacher is the instructor, right? They're up at the front, delivering all the knowledge. But with the CLT method, the teacher becomes the guide. Their job is to facilitate, to encourage students to interact and participate. So let's look at the key goals here. First, it's all about developing oral and verbal skills first. You learn to talk by talking, and you use authentic texts, stuff written for actual native speakers, not dumbed-down exercises. The focus is on real communication, not getting every single grammar point perfect. It also encourages learners to share personal experiences and to practice the language in all kinds of situations. It's about being functional, not just correct. Okay, section 3, a modern learning ecosystem. And this is all about combining human teachers with powerful technology. Because, of course, modern training isn't just about the teaching method, it's also about the tech. So here, they've built this complete learning ecosystem that brings together the best of both worlds: human teachers and really powerful digital tools. And this whole hybrid model has a name. It's called blended learning. It's pretty simple, really. It's a mix of that live teaching we talked about, plus a bunch of online tools that students can use anytime, anywhere. So you get the guided practice, and then you get to reinforce it on your own schedule. So what's in this ecosystem? Well, first up, you've got the virtual classroom, which is powered by a platform called LearnCube. And this isn't just some generic video call, okay? It's specifically designed for teaching, with stuff like an interactive whiteboard, so online lessons feel just as dynamic as the in-person ones. Then you've got this AI speech coach, powered by Elsa Speak. This is so cool. It's basically a personal coach in your pocket. It listens to your pronunciation, gives you instant feedback, and it adapts to your skill level, so you can practice and improve your fluency whenever you want. And what about the actual learning material? Well, the content library is powered by huge names like Oxford University Press and specialists like AmeriLingua. So you know that all the lesson plans and the practice materials are designed by experts and are totally effective for a business environment. And finally, to tie it all together, there's the official certification, powered by Cambridge LinguaSkill. This is huge because it's a test that's recognized by companies and universities all over the world. It gives learners actual formal proof of their new skills. And get this, you often get the results in just 48 hours. All right, section 4, training and practice. So we've seen the philosophy, the teaching method, and all the cool tech. But how does this all come together for an actual business team? What's the journey look like from start to finish? Well, the learner's journey is actually broken down into 4 really clear steps. Step 1, you take an online level test to figure out where you're at. Step 2, you schedule flexible classes either in the office or by video. Step 3, You learn using that whole blended learning toolkit we just talked about. And finally, step 4, you earn that official Cambridge Linguist Skills Certificate. Simple as that. Now, one of the key advantages here, especially for businesses, is how well this scales. I mean, look at this table. One-on-one training is great, but look what happens when you get into a group. For a group of just 6 people, the price per student per hour drops by more than 2/3. That's a huge difference, and it makes this kind of high-quality training way more accessible for an entire team. So as we start to wrap this all up, let's circle back to that core idea of the communicative method, because it really is a simple but pretty profound shift in perspective. The goal here isn't just to learn a language. The ultimate objective of all this, the teachers, the tech, the whole system, it's not about just memorizing a ton of vocabulary or mastering grammar rules. No, it's the ability to communicate in the target language. That's it. It's about being able to confidently walk into a meeting or pick up the phone or write an email and just effectively share your ideas with someone. That's the real measure of success here. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. We started with this idea that English is the language for solving our common problems. Well, if that's true, then isn't how we learn to communicate the very first problem we need to solve?